Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about office procedures and documentations. Essentially speaking, everything or all form of communication or any work or any process that is to be done or usually it's been done in any offices, corporate body, company for administrative issues is what the very basis of this particular video is all about it. So allow me to begin this presentations with a story of four people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important work to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got very angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought that anybody could have done it, but nobody realized that everybody would not do it. As it happened, it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when actually nobody accused anybody as such. So this is a classic example of a work gone wrong, of a project being mishandled, or the miscommunication happening in any of the work areas that usually is the norm. So if everybody is clear about their job responsibilities, job description, everybody knows what is expected of them, this scenario would not have happened. But usually, when a work gets botched up, this is the reason behind it. So, manual for office procedures, the efficiency of an organization depends on the valuation of adequate processes, procedures, and following them. An attempt to balance the conflict, consideration of speed and property is what we are looking into it. Now, how do I do about the propriety as such? We need to understand what is the work and what is the priority as such. So you cannot give preferences to low priority jobs. Always preferences to high priority job will ensure that the office is working smoothly and without any error. But in case the priority goes missing, despite the fact that everybody is working towards the office requirement, if the priority goes missing, it doesn't help. So you need to have a manual for office procedure. So what is an office? What is a corporate body? What is a company? What is an administration? An office is a workplace where many people work together and everybody has a responsibility. The moment everybody has a responsibility, it means that people are working in hierarchy. So people are paid for effort, for services, for work that they do in the offices. In fact, nobody does a work for charity. Everybody is being paid for. A kind of control tower where information is processed to facilitate important authority to take decisions to achieve organizational goals thereby. Procedure is a way of doing something, especially one that is formally or conventionally accepted as being the right way to go around it. And that is what is procedure is all about it. The right way, the standard operating procedures, the standard operating steps, or standard operating practices, the way you want to put it across, that is what is procedure is all about it. Giving a typically of how a man office system is all about it. Now what are we looking into it? We are looking about people, right? And as such, what is the people as would be coming across? Now people are made up of uh, public administration, salary administration. What are we looking into it? Now these are the people who have are to be talking to one another, maintaining records, and probably communicating in one hierarchical formation. That is what men are all about it. But one, will these people be working for free? Probably no. These people will be looking for money to be paid for, right? As the case might be. This is what we are looking. Where kind of money is being spent in your operational work, as in public administration, about the salaries, wages, rewards management. That is what we are looking about. Is it only about salaries and wages? Probably no. Probably there are canteen facilities, probably there are electricity, lighting facilities, there will be transporting facilities, as in welfare administration. And that the enough thing because everybody is enjoying salaries, everybody is enjoying, let's say, transport or canteen. But then what does it differentiate between a poor performer and a high performer? Motivation. People needs to be motivated, and that is what the incentives are all about it, about the morals and the disciplines to be kept around it. And this is where everyone needs to work around here. Am I clear? So men have to have a good communication, have to maintain the record, have to have a public relation, for which the working has to be done in an organization with the spending of money. The spending of money on administration, salary, welfare, motivation, morale, and discipline. This is where the men are all about it. Now, every time you spend money, you have to keep records, and that is what we are looking for. It. This is the record that comes around it in terms of receipt, in terms of expenditure, budgeting, accounting, and auditing. Once done, this is the crux of it, as in the money or the communication format or recording has to be done even for the regulatory authority. So now, what are the materials? Why do a office work? For what reasons and how it comes come into existence? With a land, with building, furniture, stationaries, machine, appliances. So these are nothing but materials per se. These are nothing but materials per se, and that is exactly an office management system is all about it. Let's say in an office, there's a head of the department or a section officer. His general or her general duty is all about distribution of the work or allocating of the work, training and helping, advising, management coordinations, as on the when on basis you need to do around it. This is what we are looking forward, right? Maintenance of order, discipline in section, maintenance of list of residential addresses. Now, residential address is not only about the employees but also of your clients. Responsibility relating to the post to go through the receipts, submit the receipt by to be seen by the higher officer, keeping a watch on any hold as in the movement of post, scrutinize the section of the diary, maintenance of the list of the residential addresses per se, and that is what we are looking for it. Now, this is the work of the section officer, basically doing nothing but probably liaising work for any and every regulatory purposes. Now, issuing of the draft, the duties are to of a section officer is to before it goes out with a communication format with within the organization or outside the organization, to ensure that the draft is correct, is error free, ensure everything is in order in terms of enclosure, priority marking, and probably the mode of dispatch. Efficient and expeditious disposal of work in terms of checks, to keep a note of important receipts, what are the various communication that is coming up with it, prioritizing the ensuring timely submission of arrears and other returns, inspect assistant table to ensure nothing is overlooked, ensure classes are not being held at any stage, weekly check on periodic returns, independent disposal of checks, issue of reminders, obtaining and supply of factual and non-classified information. This is what we are looking forward to it. Independent of disposal of cases, issues of reminders, obtaining and supply of factual, non-classified information as on when on basis. Now, talking about section officers as far as recording and indexing is concerned, approve recording of files and their classification. Now, what is approving is basically doing nothing but prioritizing them as important, very important, extremely important, not so important, reviewing the record of file before destruction, as in making them obsolete. Certain companies, certain offices would mandatorily ask you to keep a record of file for at least for 3 years or 5 years, as the case might be. Usually, none of the offices maintain a record beyond 10 years. So, supervise periodic weeding of unwanted spare copies, excesses document needs to be discarded, ensuring proper maintenance of registers, as in cataloging of registers, ensuring proper maintenance of reference books, ensuring neatness and tidiness. OOs are for office orders. Please understand, OOs are nothing but office orders. Ensuring strict compliance of departmental and security instructions, as the case might be, and how do you go around it. Duties of the clerk, the executive assistant, if you may say so. While disposing the cases, one needs to work around it as to what is being done, to see every file, open it before is been disposed or before it has been processed, to draw attention to the precedents, rules and regulations, to put up the guard file, ensure that all relevant facts are in order, in tandem order, to bring clearly the question under consideration and suggest a course of action wherever possible. Registers to be maintained. What are the various registers? Usually are inquiry register, section diary of receipts, as in what are the incoming mails, assistant diary of receipts, as in who has been diverted, the mails has been, movement registers, as I've already said it. So typist registers, dispatch registers, stamp account registers are all about federal government requirements, the liaising offices, the regulatory offices, file registers, different classification of your communications, register for watching progress of records, illustrative use of record, fit for permanent preservation, precedent books, standing guard file, retention schedule, record review register, record requisition card, weekly area statement, and call book. So usually, what are the common functions? Now, what we are looking at, we should be starting this as the step one, and this as the last probably step, but this is all about continuity that comes around it. First and foremost thing is to communicate decisions. Now you have decided upon an office that something needs to be enacted upon it. Once you have communicated, you start watching it, observing it, monitoring it, and probably see what is happening with the storage of information, how people are reacting, processing the things, collecting the information. Definitely, yes, as in the data that needs to be that has been created. We are talking about classifying information, processing information, and taking decision per se as on when on basis. Allow me to give you what exactly is the file management. A file is made up of current file and note file. Current file is what is actually happening, and note file is what you are doing at the back end within your offices, within your companies for the current file. So current file is the work, job order that has been communicated needs to be done. And for file, it will be your back orders of what are the processes, who have been allocated, what are the responsibilities, how it has been segregated, and so on and so forth. So current file consists of communication received and communication sent. Papers in current flights are arranged in chronological orders. One is to this first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth week, the first week, second week, third week. It's in everything in chronological orders. Papers are presented on the top, as in the synopsis part of it or the abstract part of it, neatly filed together, numbers on both sides of the pages so that nothing goes missing around here. And this is what current file is all about it, to be stored in chronological order, present paper on the top, neatly filed together, numbered on both the sides of the pages. So note file would be all about the margin, page number, absolutely communication number on the top, the subject title, who has been allocated, what needs to be done, the references, with whose order it has been issued. So broken into short paragraph dealing with a single point. Each work has been divided into tasks. Each task has been divided into activities. Remarks recorded in under consideration to facilitate disposal. Exactly who has been allocated, whose responsibilities comes it is for. The reasons are to ensure comprehensive execution and examination of the work, provides a written documents of decision making as on when on basis. So nobody can be escaping that this was not the responsibility. Remember that I told you the story of four person, everybody, somebody, nobody, and anybody, and that is what we are looking into. It constitute proof of approval, orders by competent authority, ensures consistency of approach as on when on basis, provide historical and evidential materials. This is a reference point that comes around it. So current of the note content of the note would be the statement or the case or the issue that we are trying to address, relevant facts and facts, the data points that needs to be discussed or needs to be addressed, procedures prescribed and precedents, law rule on the subject of their applications, view advices of others if any, consulted as required, possible course of action if it is required out there, implications, legal, social, administration, financial, everything has to be have a 360-degree point of view for the various options that comes around it. And this is what The back end of the file is all about this is where the process has been noted down, this is where the work has been actually been done, and the suggested courses of action. So how do you write a note? Simply worded, as in assigned whom is been assigned it, logically sequenced with good relationship appeal, factually correct, obviously based on facts. It is non-repetitive by drawing attention to references on the margin or the body of the note, especially for those who are referred for numbers and dates per se. References to be achieved in the economies of word and comprehensive as the case might be. In short, number paragraph for few sentences, not more than about 10 words each. So number paragraph, who is doing what, by when it is to be required, who is to follow whose work, and so on, so responsibility signed in full, dated, and dealing hand in the left hand bottom. I'll tell you the letters formatted also. So avoid when writing a note verbosity. Don't come up with articulated sentences, well flowered words, long complicated sentences as the case might be. Reproduction of rules and regulations. Just tell the rules and that's it. Rule number, point numbers, and that's it. In temperate languages, never use emotion in the languages per se, and probably, if required, um, keep aloof from biasnesses in any form. So, how should it be done as far as note? First, record on the note sheet. Even at least one word should be carried over in the next page instead of ending the note at extremely bottom end of the page. So, what does it mean? That people should have no excuses that they have read only one page with that thought that there's nothing written on the other end of the pages. So your sentences cannot be complete. It has to be a continuity process altogether. And concise and comprehensive, probably yes. Precise, business likes, and to the point, as on when on basis, unobjective, unbiased. Absolutely, what we are looking into is goal based. It's a third person passive voice, double negative without being too much of prolix and clumsy, being polite, temperate language, even pointing out the obvious mistake. Now comes to the drafting of the point. A draft is nothing but a rough sketch of communication. Remember, it's a formal communication that we are issuing after approval from the competent authority. Points to be noted should carry the exact message sought to be conveyed, should be clear, concise, and incapable of misconstruction. Then nobody can distort it. Absolutely should result in the desired responses from the receiver, should be divided into proper paragraph according to the logical sequence of orders, ideas expressed in the draft as the case might be, should contain references about previous correspondences if any. Points to be avoided, lengthy sentences. I've already said keep everything short and sweet. Repetition of words, repetition of ideas, repetition of observation should not be there. Offending discourteous languages. A drafting checklist. A draft should indicate this following: file number, very important, because when you are communicating verbally on a day-to-day basis, you should be able to pinpoint where the data has been stored, where the information can be found. The names and the complete postal address of the sender's organization, the names and designation of the addressee with the complete postal address, subject of communication, number, date, last communication in the series, to the enclosure which are to accompany the fair copy subscription, urgency grading by registered post, special messengers, name and designation, signature of the sender form applicable should be carefully chosen. Now let me talk about the types of communication. Given a letter, departmental order letter as such, memorandum, interdepartmental note, office orders, notices, circulars, telegrams. Now, how do we write a letter? I'm just giving a format of the letters wherein on the left hand side you can have the address of the receivers, where the who will receive the letter, the subject, the references, give a matter. Most importantly is you have to have a letter number. This is the most important thing because this becomes a reference point every now and then. So you have the receiver's address out here, your subject, your references per se, and probably what you do is give your address or give your signatures, designation, and from where the sendee's office is all about it. The draft letter is again the same thing where you have a office letter number because that is what we are looking into it. It can be dear sir, it can be respected sir, it can be my dear, depending upon your comfort zone with the person who with you addressing, giving the references, the subjects of the matter. The subject is what you want to do, what you want to say. References is with whose references or what letter references that you're pointing it out. Should always be in first concern. With regards, yours sincerely, signed and by name, as in who is doing what. So if it is your letter, this is what a departmental order letter will be coming around it. With your name be completely mentioned with the designation and a stamp if possible. This is what we are looking. Category A means to keep a, a storage about it, a copy about it, files which qualify for permanent preservations for repeated usage or reference point. It becomes a reference point altogether. Um, since the document is precious and the original must be preserved intact, access it in original form, why can't you keep a microfilm onto it? Why cannot you store it? The material likely to be required on a frequent references. Category B means keeping but do not microfilm because it is there for a short period of time before the process can change altogether. Same as A but not needed to be microfilmed. Category C means for specific period only, for a day, for a month, for a quarter, not beyond it. Files of secondary importance and have a reference values limited, not exceeding 10 years at all. It takes vision. Remember, it takes vision to perceive opportunities. Example, Eagle. Only the leaders can view what is happening in the company and how it needs to be proceeded. It takes momentum to reach target, as in your vigor, as in your agility, whereas in your energy. For example, Cheetah. And it takes teamwork to goal. It is usually cannot be accessed by one single person. Example, and so you need to be eagle in your teamwork in your offices, a cheetah in your offices, and an ant in your offices. It's all about your vision, mission, and teamwork that will ensure that the offices work smoothly. So, just to wind up before winding up, I just want to give you the file numbering system and a possible classification, just an idea for it. In this system of numbering, the ranges and dimensions of the sub falling under the scope of business allocated to a department are analyzed in the following sequences. The main function of the department, the activities of the functions, the aspects of operation. Aspects of operation, is it finance oriented, operational oriented, engineering oriented? The factors to be taken into consideration related to each aspects as on when on basis. But when it comes to file numbering, why on subject classification, each section has to maintain approved list. Let's say the standard heads, example, the main subject heading, concern it with standard subhead, as in the main subject heading, and so on and so forth. So the first three element in the file number will be separated by another, by slant, stroke, or last two. Let's say this is what we are looking for it constructively, as in so the date might be there, and then there is something called another references or the section that comes around it, and this is what we are looking. So where SR represents a section. So if I'm clear about it, with this I come to an end of the office documentation process altogether. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.